Well, no, that's how you if you click PA mix, now you can mute them for the PA.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. I think we can get close to starting if people are here. Thank you. I know you're having fun, but I don't know who else is coming. So the question is if we wait a couple of minutes, but if, because otherwise we will move everything back. So yeah, I'm hidden. It is nice to see people, but it's okay. I mean, you know, it's okay for you to sit. So take chairs, and okay. All right. Should we wait for some more, or should we start? Marika, should I wait for people, or should we start? Okay, so whenever you guys are ready, I can start or I can wait. So somebody has to give me a signal. Yeah. Oh, shit. Okay, I need to remember to keep this alive. Okay, so hello. So my name is Hans. A lot of people know that already, Hans Hafner, but there's probably going to be a recording, so people will want to know. And I'm going to just introduce myself quickly for that reason. So I used to be a jazz drummer. I can still do it a little bit, but that's what I studied, and I studied composition and everything. And but very quickly came to the realization I have to create music myself if I want to get away from just being a sideman and being hired for concerts and have sort of control over my life in a different way. And so that for me was the biggest thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to create the music so I can be in charge of my music. And so I did that very quickly, and I also stopped the playing and stopped going to sessions and everything so people don't know that I play, that I just go into that what I wanted to do, which is film music. And I did end up there after a couple of years, and I've written for a couple of German TV series, but also some international stuff. I've worked on Babylon Berlin, people know that, and I've worked on The Matrix, and I've worked on some smaller series where I actually composed, because on these two I'm a music editor. So that's another thing that's interesting for people, because there are jobs apart from playing an instrument in the music industry where you can do stuff. And most of it is connected to all those technologies, so it's always good to know. It will keep you moving forward. But that's, you know, we're here for the creative part. So that's a little bit about me. And we want to talk about how to use the tools. And I'm going to go really quickly over as much information as I can. If you have questions, you come back to me later and we can do it all on the stations, but it's important that we're sort of on the same page. And I'm going to start kind of basic because it is important. Files and folders is a big difference in Logic because it has two ways, and that's the thing, we're talking about Logic because we use Logic, Christian uses Logic. It's great if we can share our projects and work on them together. So yes, there's other software out there, but it would be great to use that. So on Logic, there are two types of ways of saving a project. So I'm going to create a new one, and it's just a blank one. with a software instrument, doesn't matter. And if I hit save, hello, you get this dialog box. And you can choose between package and folder. And I would generally suggest to save as a folder, because then you can more easily share down the line. Package has its advantages if you share with an iPad. And sometimes it makes it, in a way, easier to keep everything together, but it also means you have everything twice, 3 times, 10 times on your hard drive, which is also a problem. So if you know where your stuff is, then it's better. And I would urge you to use folders when you save stuff. And I usually, we work in version numbers. That's the one thing that worked like consistently. And because everything else is confusing. Like you put a date on it, or you put the word final on it, or you put the word, that all doesn't work. You start with version 1. Actually, you want to save it without the version because Logic creates a folder. So if I go into the Finder now and show this, we actually have a folder called new project, and inside is our actual Logic project and a folder named audio files. So once I've done that, I do another save as and save that as version 1, right? So now I have this here. And then usually I move this to a backup folder right away. So I keep, I go in here, backups, bam, and I move this in here. So I only have the version 1 there. And it's particularly important when you start creating bounces. So once you bounce your project, you want to make sure that your bounce and your Logic project have the same name, and the Logic project doesn't change anymore. Because otherwise you can't recreate that bounce. So whenever you created a bounce and you work on your project again, you want to save to version 2. It's hugely important, especially if you work for film, and it happens with everybody, because if you work for film and you hear the music, it's not about the music, it's about the sound. And you hear it, and sometimes there's a little squeak or a little something, and you remember it with the picture, and you can't separate it anymore. And then when you can't recreate that, then people down the line are going to be like, oh shit, we need that other version. This is wrong. So you need to be able to go back. It's crucial. So very important. If you want to share a project with somebody, I would suggest you get into zipping it. So you take the whole folder and you go compress, bam, and then this one you can name however you want. You give it some descriptive thing, and then you share that with other people through whatever cloud service you have. One thing about the cloud services, that's a huge issue. A lot of cloud services start moving files offline to save space on your hard drive, and it will break your Logic projects. It will break because Logic sees the file, but the file isn't actually on your machine anymore. It's still in the cloud. It needs to download it, which it doesn't do. Like Logic doesn't trigger that, unfortunately. So then Logic says, oh, this audio file is broken. And then you end up with a lot of broken audio files on it. So work in folders that are not synced to any cloud services. Doesn't matter which one, Dropbox, iCloud, Google Drive, it doesn't work. Work in a different folder, then zip it, upload it to the cloud, and share it with people. It will break. It's just a matter of time. So be careful with that. All right, so we have that out of the way. I know it's very dry. So in Logic, you just saw, you can have new files, you can choose templates, you can create your templates, you can save as. You all know that. We don't have to go about that. Now, for our purposes, I would recommend working in 48 kilohertz. So we have to set, no, it's in the project settings. So you have to set, not recording, the audio. Oh, it is already. Perfect. It's that's what's being used, especially in the film industry. It's the standard. I know CDs were 44.1, but just go with 48. You'll be safer, and you save the problem of up converting from 44.1 to 48. So and pretty much everything can handle this sample rate nowadays. Okay, let's get started. So this is the main window in Logic. Let me hide the library. So this is sort of your main window, and it's called tracks in Logic. So this is where you have your tracks overview. Right now, we only have one track, which is an instrument track. There are different kinds of tracks. The most important ones are the audio tracks and the MIDI tracks. I'm just going to create 8 audio tracks, and the output should go to, this is the input, sorry, the output is here. You can set the inputs automatically if you want to. So audio tracks is where you record microphones and all this kind of stuff. And all you do is, yes, once you created your tracks, it's crucial also to name your tracks. If you don't name your tracks, you might end up with a lot of files that are named the same, but contain different audio. And when Logic searches for files, it gives you the option of picking files that have the same name, but it doesn't let you listen to it, so you don't know which one belongs to which one. It's confusing. So start naming your tracks. So in this case, I mean, new project is not a good project name, but I would find like, an abbreviation, like a code for a project. I'm calling this NPR, not the radio station. And then it would be called, like, let's say this is mic 1. So I call this mic 1. And now all the audio files recorded with that will be called that and have a number for the take number behind it. It's really good practice to do it that way. So you can just do that by double-clicking this part here. In a way, you can also double-click this and change it, but Logic has some particularities, and sometimes double-clicking here will change the track name and not the channel name. It is what it is. We don't have to go through that. So this area here is called the track header area, if we ever talk. And this area here is where your regions are. In Logic, all the little audio files, the MIDI, like if I record something to this, play. So this thing is called a region. This little thing. It's just so that when we speak to the same thing. And if it's audio, it'll look a little bit different. It'll look like this. And probably, there's no input, so we don't hear anything. And we don't see a waveform. But you see already, like this has these little white dots in it, which are the MIDI notes. And this one will have sort of a waveform. And it will go through that. There are a couple of special regions, like the step sequencer regions, that you have to create specially. So let's create one, which is open step sequencer, which creates this type of thing. And for that, let me actually not, well, we can do it with the synth as well. So, if like any, it's a step sequencer, basically. It's a little different from what the MIDI region does. It has similarities, but when you use it, you will find out. The step sequence is better for percussion programming, makes it a little simpler because you have the lines for the instruments, but it's basically the same thing. It's just a different representation, visual representation of the same information. Okay, so then there is a region inspector that has a lot of tools right there for that region. And well, the step sequencer is not so interesting, but the other region that I recorded, like if you want to quantize it, you can do it here. So you listen to roughly what it does. I'm way off because I didn't have a click. So if I quantize this to 16th notes, it'll be, whatever. So you can do that here. You have a menu, and it has these swing things. You can play around with it. It's like whether you have 16th or basically. So that's what you can set here. The region inspector in the audio has the same thing. But once you start quantizing it, it analyzes the audio and sort of stretches it to the grid. And it's, sometimes that gives good results. It's not really high fidelity anymore. Like if you're recording a classical guitar, you don't want to quantize that. You want to actually edit, make a cut, and move it to where it goes. Because otherwise, all these little attacks, they all get smeared, and it doesn't sound good. So you just have to know. But I mean, it makes working really fast because, you can move it around. Okay, so that's basically the tracks interfaces. Now, of course, you can mix using these sliders here, but there is a real mixer also. And of course, my key command doesn't work because I have a different keyboard. So you can, show the mixer here. And then you have all your tracks. You can do, the way a mixer works. And here you can also see the difference between the tracks very clearly. So these instrument tracks have the instruments up here. I'll show you how to add those. Whereas audio tracks have their audio input here. And you always want to think signal flow. So how does the signal come in? And then it goes through, always think the signal flows this way. In this case, it's created at this point. Whereas in this case, it's created outside, but then it goes into this channel, and then it flows through the audio effects, the send it to a bus, and the output defines which output it goes to, and this sets the level. So if you keep that logic in mind, any mixer, any mixing desk, anything that you come across, you will understand it because it works the same everywhere. Signal goes from a source through an input, through the effects. Maybe it's being sent somewhere, and then it goes out to the. It's good to always think that way. And here you can add effects. Like it also had like these crazy. Let's take this one. So what does this do? Where are we here? Oh, no. That was my sound. So you can see mainly this thing is modulating this cutoff. So that's another thing that you sort of want to get your head around. Cutoff is a filter. And if you find that anywhere in an interface, it usually means it's going from, it just filters the audio. But to understand these interfaces quickly, if you look for these parameters, you can very quickly find, okay, that's where my sound is being changed. If I turn this up, then this whole effect from these steps don't really do anything anymore. But you don't have to learn this particular thing, but it's just good to understand how that works. So the mixer, so then it goes through there. So send effects are usually like reverb, delays, stuff where you can combine several instruments and they all go through the same reverb or they all go through the same delay. Now, I know if you're working on Logic and you start just loading up funny stuff from here, from the library, it will add a lot of buses already for you. It's annoying. It's highly annoying because you add 20 instruments and Logic added another 10 or 20 buses to it. So you have a super blown up piece all of a sudden, Logic project, and it's very hard to sort of keep track of where what is going. And so at some point, if you're actually using all of this, you want to start removing stuff again and seeing how you can solve it differently, because otherwise you will end up with a lot of buses and it's confusing. But it's good that you know, okay, this will be happening. If I open this stuff, you know, you see how these buses here in the end change when I change these presets. Now it's gone altogether. I mean, Logic keeps track of it for you, but it's, let me find something that's, yeah, this one added 2 tracks, you know, and to show you what they do, you can solo it. So this one is just basically a reverb, and the other one too. So both are reverbs, and you could just have 2 reverbs set up and then send to those reverbs instead of these 2 and then delete these again. Also, again, we will talk about it. So also, that's particularly interesting for you guys. There is a score editor here where you can see your music as notes. So if you open up the editors and then go to score, you can quickly see it as notes, and you can, I mean, I've seen people create scores, like actually multi-voice scores in Logic. It's doable. It's not Finale or something. It's not professional grade music typesetting, but it's okay. And you can quickly, like for now, where we're working here, if you want to quickly show somebody what they should be playing, you can prepare it like that, you know, and then open the score editor in its own window. Where are we? Where is it? I have it on here. I don't even know where to find it because I have it in my, here, it's the score editor in my key commands. And you can view it as a page, you know, and then you can have them play from the screen right away. If you're here, it's really useful. You can, because that's the point. We have microphones everywhere, and we have one room that's quiet where you can actually record. And so you can prepare some stuff. Okay, when you're recording, you can, of course, edit. So I have one, and I mean, it would be good to have at least some kind of audio signal here. Do you think you can quickly add an audio signal to the Motu? Get a microphone and just plug it in. One of the... Does it have preamps? Because it only says line in. Ah, here, it has the mics up front. So that you can at least see the waveform. So let me talk about the virtual instruments first. I was going to talk about recording, but we'll do that in a moment. So the virtual instruments are, if you go to track and you say new software track, well, this logic is set so it creates a default patch. I don't particularly like that. I have to switch it off. You have to switch it back on if you want that again, Reese. So I'm unchecking the open library. And then if I open a new software track, it's still doing it. Why? Why are you still doing it? Ah, here. Empty channel strip. Bam. So this is what we want. Let me create these, get rid of these. So if you add a new software instrument track, right, so now the instrument is empty here. So you first have to select it. And Logic comes with a lot of, does it have level already? Maybe. With a lot of built-in little synth that you can use and you can check out. There's drum machines. This one is a really involved synthesizer. There's a little, there's a multi-sampler that's kind of more involved, but samplers have changed a lot since then, but this is not bad. Then there's the quick sampler, which is a great new addition. And I'm sure a lot of you can come up with really cool stuff using the quick sampler. I can go into that. I will go into that on a separate session tomorrow or the day after. We shall see. Then there's a couple of strings and horns. Those are, in my opinion, they're terrible. I mean, all of this stuff, when it comes to acoustic instruments, it's good for sketching stuff, but especially if you play the instruments, it's painful, very painful to. So there's an organ, the clavinet, there's an electro piano. Oh, there's a little mellotron, so you can, remember your. You can do a new version of that if you want. Anyway, but then there are also third-party instruments. So there are other people that program instruments and sell them, and these will show up here in the AU instruments. And this is not my machine, so that's why the ones. But all these other machines will have a folder here called UHI. And I would highly recommend, if you use synthesizers, to use those. First of all, they're the best sounding on the market, but they're also the most compatible. Like he will make sure they work even 15 years after he introduced them. And that's crucial, because if you have your old projects and you can't open them anymore in 10 years, that's annoying. And it does happen. It happened to me, and it's so, But you can, of course, check out all the other stuff. There's many instruments there, but I would suggest to check out how those work. And when we do the talk on synthesis, I will, of course, use one of those to go through what that actually does. So we can take, the electric piano, and you have which is really boring for now. Can we get that a little louder, or is that? But you have to do the PA louder. But maybe it's the input, actually. It's coming in very low. So the top. Yeah. Click and drag. You have to click drag. No. What's going on? Oh, it's not doing it? Strange. Okay, well, we'll live with it. So each one of these instruments also, you saw the library here, right? So this library that you see now with this little triangle always shows the presets for a whole channel. So it'll add everything at the same time. If you move that little triangle down here, then you see only the presets for that instrument that's next to the triangle. So now I'm only changing the way the E piano, and it works the same with the effects. Like if you take this multi-effect that I used before, and you want to step through these presets, you click that little triangle, and you can then. I will give you more signal here. Right? So you can step through. And you have, very quickly, you can create stuff that helps you guys. Because once you start with these little things electronically, then you have sort of a skeleton, and then you add your live recordings, and it becomes a thing very, very quickly. Trust me, it's there. But if you only use the presets for the channels, you're sort of losing out, and it's also sometimes difficult to go back. It's like, oh, where was I? So make use of those. If you do use that quick sampler thing, so this, am I getting signal on this one now? So I'm routing this through, is this in one? Okay, let's turn this up a little bit. Yeah, okay, so we have signal. That's very good. So now, but let me sort of, doesn't really matter. So just gonna, oops, I didn't want to hear that. So let's move it over here. All right, so I'm not the best beatboxer. It's not about beatboxing. We probably have people here who can do it much better. But now you have the little recording here, and if you use that little quick sampler that I showed you, so let's get a new instrument track. And where is it? I'm blind. Here, mono. And I can drag this in here, and immediately, okay, now it's pitching it. Right, but that's probably in this case not what we want, so we slice it. So very quickly you have stuff, like right away. It's that's why this thing is so practical. And so all I did. Sorry? No, you can do it with anything. That's the whole point. Okay, let's do it differently. Let's record a little bit something here. Okay, it's rhythmic again because of the thing. Then in Logic there's something called bounce in place. That's very convenient. So I can take it like this. Usually I just add stuff to the name. So yes, because you will do this a couple of times and then you end up with stuff that looks the same way. It's, again, file names. So then I create, no, that's the same channel. So let's do a new channel and add it. And here you can find the stuff that you've recently used. So you can more quickly, oh yeah, it is stereo. Okay, so then you drag it in and it's, and you have it, see, and already you sort of have a bass that's sort of special because nobody has this sound. It's quick. That's why it's called quick sampler. And it does also, if you have monophonic stuff, it sort of finds the pitch right away. And you can, well, let's do it, even with my bad singing. So let's record. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. I don't know if anybody saw what's that film called? Nothing New from the Western Front that just recently won an Oscar for the music. All Quiet on the Western Front, right? Did anybody see that? That's the main theme, if you remember. Do you remember? Because it was crazy. It was crazy good. And it was apparently an old organ in somebody's attic that he found, and that he recorded, and he compressed the shit out of it. And it was this sound that sort of just ripped you out of it. It's like... Anyway. It was an accident that I sang that. Okay, so let's get it into the quick sampler. Mono and optimized. So now we want to start it here so that it plays right away. Okay, so it's so quick that, you know, and you can do this anytime. All right, but we go more deeply into that when we talk about sampling. Okay, mixing, a little bit about mixing. So now we have created a couple of things, but they're everywhere. So I'm just going to throw them on top of each other. It's going to sound horrible. I will let's record some here. Okay. I mean, this is all accidental now, you know. It's, I know it's, let's just, you know, but you do need to sort of balance this. So like this and. So you should make sure that this one doesn't go into the red. So this stereo out, this should never be in the red. So you have to always turn down. Most of the times you have to turn stuff down instead of up. So if something is too soft and you just can't get it loud, it's mostly because all the other stuff is too loud. So you do have to think the other way around, because there's a limit at 0 dB. It's what it's called, like that's the loudest, and it doesn't go over. So it just doesn't, it sounds like shit. So you have to reduce the level on the other stuff to bring some stuff out. So that's the most important concept about the mixing. And then of course there's compression, there's EQ where you can, but that's all down the line. Very quickly about recording. So we will have a couple of, there are different microphones. I don't know how well you guys know. So there are dynamic microphones like these ones. These are not very sensitive. You have to sort of go very close for the signal to hit. Like if it's here, I'm already not really getting signal anymore. So this is not for a violin, because it's just the volume that the violin, or the sound pressure that the violin produces, is not enough to move this. Then there are large diaphragm mics. Do we have any? I don't think we do. Okay, so there are large diaphragm mics that we can use. Those are good to record a violin. We also have small diaphragm mics. Those are also good. But please don't sing into those, because, well, the large diaphragm is okay for singing. The small, it sounds usually like shit. So this is one of those mics. You know, you can sing into this. You can record instruments with this. These are extremely sensitive, and also extremely delicate. So please be careful with those. Like, and extremely expensive. Yes. So please, it's not like these. These are like $80 or something. These you can hardly destroy them. I don't want that you try, but to show me that you can do it. But we have them, so you can record that too. But I'm saying it so that you sort of make the right decision for what you want to record. So there's the large diaphragms if you want to record vocals, the small diaphragms if you want to record instruments, and if you want to record loud vocals, like somebody going, then use the dynamic mics. So we have all of them here. You can use them. Documenting your work. This is something where I'm also not really disciplined enough a lot of times, where I write down, okay, how did I record this instrument? Like, what was the placement? What was like the room? How were the microphones placed? I mean, in this case, I know and I remember, but if you have more instruments, it's always good to know how you recorded, how far you were away, so that you either make a mental note and remember it, because if you have to do another day of recording, you sort of want to kind of have the same sound that you set up, because it will make a difference. And if you have one sound but the same musical line is going to a different sound, it's all of a sudden it's like, wait, what happened? Is this a different person? Or so you want to sort of yeah, keep that in mind. And also, you know, if you want to, this is not my machine now, okay, so I can't show that. I mean, we also have lists and lists and lists of tracks where we keep track of what has to be done next, like pieces. I'm talking pieces now, not tracks or, but pieces where we sort of keep track of what has to be done as a next step. What other people think we should change on this. And so we document all of that and we keep it in a spreadsheet, basically. And it helps us to sort of track the progress of where we are, because usually we produce like 15 to 20 pieces at the same time before it goes to a movie. Once it's in the movie, we will probably have 40, 50 cues out of those pieces. And so you sort of have to keep that ready, and we just use some spreadsheet program. I mean, I can try to just simulate it. I mean, because it's not rocket science, you know. You just have your track name, you have your version number. Where's the hashtag on this keyboard? Is it somewhere here? It doesn't matter. It's the version number, and then we usually have a status and notes. And even if you just do this for yourself, and you just make mental notes, oh, I want to record vocals on this. Oh, this could have a nice horn line, blah, blah, blah. And if you document your work like that and you build it up, it keeps stuff available for you, and you can also let go of it because you know you wrote it down. So it's a good thing, documenting your work. Also for collaboration, you can say, oh, I have this piece, check out the notes that I did, can you do blah, blah, blah. Okay. I think I'm through with like the rough stuff. Any questions specifically to this stuff? Or anything really? It's maybe you want to get a mic if there are. Oh, it's frozen. Why?
The mic is frozen.
I know why it's frozen because yes, try now. Yes.
With talking about saving and versions, and we all know about the hassle in different programs when you have your final thesis, and then it's the final thesis, and final really final number 22, etc. And you said that you prefer using version numbers instead of dates.
Yes.
So why so?
Because there might be 3 versions on one day. So what do you do then?
Version, today A, today B,
right.
Today C.
But we found it was most clear if you have just version 1, version 2, version 3, because then you have 3 digits to look at, and you see it very quickly. Like you don't have to look, oh, which date? It's like, oh, version 7, bam, you're there. I found from like practical experience, that's the one thing that worked most easily, and I have really bad eyesight. It's getting worse as older I get. So the more stuff I have to look at, the harder it is sort of to quickly grasp it. And you want to be quick. And I think that applies to everybody. And version numbers are quick.
Thank you.
And we never went over, I think the highest we went was on the Matrix, where 1 Q was up to version 79. That was the highest we got.
And still using reels.
And still using?
In film music, still using reels as their main parts of the film.
Yes, they were still cutting in reels. Yeah.
And then their cues are in specific numbering, or just you bounce your.
We still have
fully.
the 1M1, so that's like a naming convention in film music. So they. In the old days, they had what's called reels, which was the actual film roll that they edited. And it was only able to do like 20 minutes or something. So they always had these different reels, and the musicians named their cues like these reels. So you had a cue that belonged to reel 1, which would be 1, M3, or 1M1. So 1 is the reel, M is the cue number. So 2M3 goes in reel 2, and it's Q3. So that used to be the numbering. On the Matrix, we did it like that, but most films, we just go M1 to the end because people don't think in reels anymore because they can have everything in one timeline now. So it's...
So, I have another question. For somebody who is finds that all very informative and somehow interesting, but thinks right now I'm not really practically going to be doing any of that stuff. What would you say to them? I mean, because let's say I can see some people in front of me who have listened, but I think that the illusion is that it's still very complicated. You know,
It's more important that you do stuff than that you do it right. It really is. So you're right about that.
Yeah,
So
because the thing is that there is, I mean, it's a little bit, we're kind of in between two things, which is knowing what we know how to do well,
yeah,
and then knowing not how to do anything. And basically, if you approach this as learning a new instrument, then yeah, you don't know anything about it. But in fact, you know everything about it because you already know your particular speciality, whatever it is. It might be viola or cello or violin, you know, and so if it is anything that you see that you can do on your own instrument, you can definitely make it like so much more colorful, so much more alive, so much more everything that might include your instrument. It may all come from your instrument, but it is just laid out differently than on your instrument. But it is an extension of you, your instrument, and your whole being. And in fact, if you can look at it like that, and remember that before you knew how to play violin, viola, cello, piano, bass, you know, clarinet, flute, whatever, that you actually didn't know how to do those things either, and you just didn't have the choice, really, so much in making. But here, since you are stuck with the choice that somebody else has already made for you, why don't you make the biggest use of it, you know? And I feel like sometimes we don't talk about this aspect because we expect people to create, and everybody initially wants to create in the way that with the instrument that they know, and it's not that. and actually years ago when Hans came down to Leipzig, like I don't know, now it's 8 years ago or something like that, and he brought me literally like hard drives filled with samples and loaded Logic into my computer. Basically from that point on, everything that I was doing in the mid-90s when I was actually, you know, still in school, and started Absolute Ensemble and stuff like that. That actually was the exact time which I caught up on. I actually came back to, you know. In between, I was serious conductor, and I was quite good at it, but I don't really like it, you know. Actually, what I really like doing is this, you know. What I really like doing is BSP. That's why there is no other band quite like that, because I never really liked that orchestral stuff. I never. That was. I mean, I liked I respected it, you know, because, you know, other people did it and there was money in it and stuff. But it wasn't my cup of tea, you know. And so now, what's driving actually this thing, everything that you're part of now, is just the same kind of fascination with the unknown that I had in the 90s, but it's 2023, you know. So and in a way, I'm so glad that I did that other thing that my parents really wanted me to do, and my teachers and everybody wanted me to do that serious thing. So I've tested it. I know how to do it. I can even do it next week. I'm going to do it again. When I go and conduct somewhere, and all of you are going to go and play in orchestras again and do all of that crap again. But besides that, you can have this whole world open up in front of you, which makes that other stuff actually so so much more fun, and actually part of your arsenal that you have in the game of life. Like the game of life, isn't everything a performance? Like, isn't life a performance? Get it? Right? And so basically, if you can look at it like that and just not stick to what you know is basically what I'm saying.
And I would urge you to record. I mean, you can do all this MIDI stuff. It's fun too, of course, but record. Because you guys are fantastic players. So.
And where's that room upstairs, which has a separate workstation?
It's room 11. So if you go up all the stairs, and then once you hit the top stairs, you go a little bit to the left, but then it's right there. I think it's locked, and it will be Mari's room when she's here. So we have to speak, sort of.
You mean Mari Mentalo?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
but I mean, that's like a studio recording room, so you can actually have quiet. So if there's stuff happening here, it won't affect you not being able to record something quiet in your room, in that room.
So I would treat it that way too. I mean, yes, people will probably work there, but it's sort of that we give priority to the people who want to record.
Wait,
so
if it's locked, how do we get in? Who has the keys? Should we just ask it?
It's over here. But as I said, once Mari, we have to coordinate with her, of course.
Okay.
But that's all doable.
So,
and Raul,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
But and I'm really here to do this with you. So it's one-on-one. Reese is also here. He knows Logic. He will also help you. So if you sit down at one of the stations, we will sit one-on-one and help. Like, that's the whole point.
What's the whole point?
I forget.
Right. Okay. All right. So look, Event Tech is bringing some stuff in. Maybe just quickly let them bring stuff in, and then we can, take some time off, and then we can move on to just beat creation and stuff like that.
And we have a couple of more sessions. I would like to do one where I go more into the sampling thing, where we talk more about that, and then I have one where we talk more about synthesis and how a synthesizer works, because I think it's interesting to know how that works.
And what Martin is going to show is analogous to Logic, but it's Ableton.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so when should we? Do you guys want some time, or should we just go? Have you bring in the gear, maybe have them disperse for a little, then meet again here for the Reese's and Martin's jam.
Sounds awesome.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you, and let's do this.